Item number 33, which is the biannual report for the Special Victim Unit on child abuse. I believe the Chief informed us that we're going to have a presentation. Could Chief, maybe you want to introduce the officers that are going to make the presentation?
I have Detective Sergeant Scott Sharman, the one with the shorter hair, and Detective Gary Ying is the other gentleman with them. They're going to give you a brief outline of the report, Mr. Chairman, and then answer any questions the board has.
Okay. Good morning.
Good morning. Obviously, the biannual report was submitted. As it states in the, it is policy of the police service to recognize sexual assault as a crime that has serious traumatic effects on the victim. We are sensitive to the needs of the victim, and that we protect and support the children by conducting thorough investigations. In conjunction with that, by working closely with the Children's Aid Society. The Special Victims Unit was formed in July of 1999. It consists of 34 personnel within the unit. Myself in charge as the Detective Sergeant. There's 7 detectives and 24 constables, 2 clerical support people as well. It operates on a 3-platoon system similar to a detective office, and works a day shift from 7 a.m. till 5 p.m. and has coverage from 2 p.m. till midnight. And then there's officers on call from there. We work, there's extensive training for the officers. The courses are listed there. It's probably one of the units that has the most amount of training. It indicates also in the report there that we do probably the most interviews of any unit within the police service. In 2007, in excess of 1,800 interviews were conducted by our officers within the unit. Further states in 2007, the Ministry of the Community Safety and Correctional Services released their adequacy standards guideline for child abuse and neglect. And at that time, during the audit, we were in 100% compliance with those adequacy standards at the time. We liaise with probably the most partner agencies within the organization, and they're all listed there. The various hospitals, school boards, Children's Aid Society. Also states that any criminal investigation undertaken by our officers in relation to child abuse, it is a joint investigation with the Children's Aid Society. The statistics are there in relation to referrals with the Children's Aid Society, and it explains the drop from the 2006-2007 referrals. We're at a result of, in speaking with the Children's Aid Society, we were referring a lot of verbal domestics to them, and that's been streamlined. Therefore, the drop in that number. And again, the type of investigations, the chart is listed on the last page, and in 2007, there were 754 child abuse investigations that included both physical abuse and sexual assault. And we had a total clearance of those 754 occurrences of 702. And that's the information that I have.
The question that I guess I'd like to put out, and the challenge that I'd like to put out is that, and correct me if I'm under the wrong perception, but it seemed to me that these were a lot of situations that we as police had to get involved in the community, I guess between the parents and the children in these kinds of situations as you have outlined them here in the numbers. And if you'd have been in this council chambers yesterday, we had 2 very big audience here, and the support. We even had the Honourable Bill Davis here, used to be the Premier of Ontario, and done a lot in education and tried to address children's needs in education and all of that. And we know that poverty is a big issue in this region, and children anyhow, and that has risen quite dramatically over the last few years. I guess, and when I read your report, sir, to me, I wondered if there was something that we need to do publicly in a communication piece and begin to try to be proactive in these situations in order to I don't know how you feel, but I thought this was even at 1,200,000 people living in Peel, that these were a lot of calls that you attended and or the officers attended and served. And so what I was looking at, and that the province has now a ministry for children, which is Diane Matthews, I believe, is her. Deb Matthews, and I wondered if there was something that we might propose from a provincial level of how they might get to start some programs that might be proactive, but we could be the leaders of that in order to try to convince the province that there's a need to address the family situation here certainly in this region. So I'd kind of like if you'd respond to that, and anybody else that might want to jump in and respond to that also.
And I appreciate that concern as well, and I think there's obviously more that we can do as far as education. We work closely with the Children's Aid Society. They have abuse awareness avenues that they do, but as you said, I think that a lot of the incidents that we deal with are of a confusion of what is appropriate discipline. And the cases of the child abuse, a lot of times it's inappropriate discipline that's gone above and beyond to the point of an assault with a weapon. And as part of our 2008 strategic plan moving forward into 2010, that education is one of the components that we're looking at that we obviously can do more.
So I guess maybe through the chief, I wondered if there was, what they often call a white paper that maybe we could produce that we might start from our strategic plan, if you like. And I'm glad that you did mention that, because I had thought about that also, and that we might produce, that we might get here, that I could take here and even go that through our council and try to get sort of more of a proactive way of addressing these issues.
Yeah, I think, Mr. Chairman, if I can add a comment, with the new corporate communications aspect to the organizational chart, this is one thing that I'll be asking them to do. You're going to hear next from Lori Betts about elder abuse. I think with the demographics, the way everything's going, it's only going to get more complicated from a policing perspective as us baby boomers get older. Domestic violence and I think child abuse is one thing that corporate communications can take a lead on. It's I have sympathy for the Special Victims Unit, because there are so many things that they have to investigate, and I think our stats prove that it's unfortunately it's escalating, especially in the sexual aspect of sexual assault. So asking them to step aside to make these contacts with the government is probably unfair, but it certainly is something our corporate communications can do.
Well, I mean, if these numbers become public and people see for 2006 that we had or were notified or asked to reply 6,191 times, I mean, some of the public would be astonished if they saw these numbers, I think. But I think we have to start raising the awareness of the issue, and so to me, I'd like to see us come back, maybe with your help, Chief, and we structure some kind of a communication piece which would sort of start addressing the whereas issues in this situation.